All right, let's see if this actually works today. Okay. I can't hear myself. Okay. Fuck. Oh, now I can hear myself. Wonderful. Hello, everybody. Sorry for the delay. It's been an interesting morning. How are you, Apollo? Good morning. Sorry for the delay, as I said. One of the funny things is like every time I start the stream, I then check on YouTube if it actually starts to and do like a quick audio check to see if everyone else can hear me or if there's sound. And because there's so much lag between Restream and YouTube, I always get that wonderful message like waiting for Raf Blutax, and I'm like, okay, but I'm here. Hello, Mr. Roro. How are you doing? I woke up really early to be prepared and everything, and then my computer decided that it had to do a Windows update, and then I saw the counter of like update's been worked on, and the number goes slowly up, and I'm like, oh God, this is not going to work, is it? That's what you get for doing what what Windows tells you. Like, don't do that. A cautionary tale to not listen to authority. So, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm good. I'm relatively awake. Well, I have decided what book to read next, which was quite the struggle for I don't know what reasons. Just general exhaustion, I assume. Like I was basically done with the what's it called? Anti-intellectualism in American Life by Richard Hofstadter, which is interesting in parts, but also has not really aged that well. And then I was like, I need to find a new book. I need to find a new book. And obviously, I said I want to read the Summer of Fire and Blood, the history of the Peasants' War, and it's like sitting on my phone, staring at me, probably as angrily as that Duolingo owl at this point, as reproachfully. But I somehow didn't feel it, and I'm like, I have like two collections of Audre Lorde essays on there as well, and I'm like, I really want to read those, but somehow I'm not feeling it, and I had to find what to do. I've seen that lying around. I have not read any of Catherine Addison's book yet. Maybe I should do that at some point. So yeah. Anyway, long story short, this morning I had an epiphany, and I decided that I will reread Wizard of the Pigeons by Megan Lindholm today and make a video about it, so I can feel like I am back at the whole like doing video stuff. Yeah, I mean, I read it like early in January and I really loved it. And I said then that I wanted to make a video on it, and then I never did. So that's what we're doing today. So while I was waiting for the computer to get the whole like update thing going and everything, and it took forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, I did already reread the introduction and the first chapter. So I guess I'm on track there. It's not a long book anyway, but it's a really, really good one. really like the way it. I mean, it's a fairly early Megan Lindholm, like long before she decided to also write under Robin Hobb. But it does show a lot of the stuff that she does later in her Farseer and general like Realm of the Elderling stuff. It, obviously, it's the same writer, so it does deal with a lot with things like trauma and so forth. But because it is it's urban fantasy set in Seattle in 1985, and it's about homeless people that are also Vietnam veterans, and it's also about the people that have that are sort of like the veterans by proxy, like people that have either lost people to like family members, lovers, whatever, in Vietnam, or had them come back so changed that they can't actually, interact anymore. So it does all of that, but it kind of casts it in this weird, like urban fantasy. Maybe it's all just imagined by people that, with severe like trauma kind of thing, and yeah, you see a lot of like how trauma and the inability to communicate and so forth, how that impacts later writings of Robin Hobb, of course, and the introduction she wrote for it like in 2020 when the new edition came out does talk about like her own experience living through that, which going to I think she started college in like 1975 or something. So this is like directly, having a brother coming back from Vietnam and visit her and being absolutely, waking up with the shakes and full on trauma, panic attacks, because she was living near an army fort in Washington that had like gun practice, and you heard the gunshots and went back into like full on flashbacks and everything, and how all of that did impact her, and how that is sort of like what she does with the book, and that's powerful stuff. So yeah, highly recommend it, but it's certainly not the most upbeat book. Although there is a level of like optimism or hope in there as well, which I think is good. But also like it does the thing that like really good urban fantasy should do. And for example, I think what's his face, Jim Butcher with the Dresden Files fails to do, which is actually make you feel the city. I think China Miéville manages that with Kraken, which is set in London. I don't know about the Ben Aronovich ones that are set in London because I haven't read them. But a good urban fantasy, Alfred Leb does the same very well with what's it? Our Lady of Darkness, right? Which is set in San Francisco, I think. Not LA. I think it's San Francisco. I'm confusing LA and San Francisco here, but maybe not. So one of those Bay Area cities, but it makes you feel the city as a character, as a personality in a way. And she does that with Seattle, up to the point where she mentions Starbucks coffee and get like as like actually coffee shop you could go to as a homeless person and maybe scrounge a free coffee. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like the Starbucks I know. And then I double checked and realized that like, yeah, Starbucks in '83 when the story is set had exactly two coffee shops in Seattle because that's where they were founded, obviously, and they had not expanded beyond those two small-time coffee shops at the time. So when the book was written, it was a completely different city, different company that she was talking about, and it's just like sometimes it's sometimes it's a nice or funny thing that dates a story in a specific era, and nowadays just manages to make that Seattle feel almost more magical because that friendly coffee shop of Starbucks is no more. I mean, maybe they have kept the original one in Seattle that way. I don't know. It's certainly I certainly doubt they will allow homeless people scrounge free coffee there. So yeah, a very very emotional, very human story. But nevertheless, a very good one that I highly recommend reading. I know there's an illustrated version like from Grim Oak Press. I don't know if it's still in print or if it was like one of those super limited ones. I have not checked, but I've heard it looks good. So yeah, wonderful book and relatively short, so I can record the video possibly today, probably today, and then have it up sometime over the weekend, I guess. Because I'll be gone tomorrow morning. I was supposed to be in Czech Republic today for a festival in Písek, which is a beautiful city and has one of the oldest stone bridges in all of Europe. It looks exactly like the Carlsberg Bridge in Prague, but is a couple of decades older, and was basically the model for it. Same as the one of the Donau bridges in Regensburg, basically. Really cool bridge though. And there's a Heavy Metal Thunder Festival this weekend, and I was supposed to be there. But on the one hand, it would have been like really, really tough because I'm super fucking broke after the whole Athens thing. On the other hand, my mother called and she needs help carrying around some large plants and stuff in the house. And what with her, still not fully recovered from the whole pneumonia thing and everything, she was like, "Hey, can you come by and carry some heavy things for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Of course I do that. So I'll do that instead, and it's probably healthier for everyone involved than me doing like a brutal, I don't know, 12-hour train ride to Bohemia and and all of that for once. So yeah, that's so maybe if I manage to record the video today, I can schedule it for tomorrow or upload it on Sunday. Yeah. So that's the plan there. I'm also waiting, trying to figure out what to read next. Stephen Graham Jones's The Buffalo Hunter comes out on Tuesday. That might be an interesting one. Seems to be historical horror set somewhere in the American West with a revenge and native revenge kind of thing going on there. What I found interesting is that going by names of and that's kind of always a bit more difficult, but going by names of the narrators for the audiobook, they actually picked at least one native narrator. It had like 3 different narrators, so they picked at least one native narrator, which is, I think a nice thing for a book that deals with such topics to have, literally own voices. But I'm, not sure how much horror. Like, I'm not much of a horror reader in general. I don't know. Often don't get it fully. I don't know. But the historical stuff might be interesting, what with all the Mormon reading I've been doing recently. So it might be a nice sort of like atmospheric thing to get me back into that spirit, because I really want to do the Mormonism video next week, and I want to get over this thing. I mean, I thought I'd wait a little until the big scar in my face is at least slightly less visible, and it seems to be healing somewhat. So I figured like maybe if I start recording it in a very disciplined way from Monday onwards, I can have the whole thing recorded by next week's Sunday or something, and then have it all out over the next couple of weeks. Hey, Kadia, how are you? So yeah, I just said, if you were late, I have settled on a book. I'm going to reread Wizard of the Pigeons today, which is also not a happy book, but a nice book and a depressing book because it is a Megan Lindholm book. And I think you've read it, but I'm not quite sure. The good thing is that for that one, I don't have to spend any Audible credits, unlike, say, The Deluge, and what with me being even more broke than usual, that is probably a good thing. And so stuff like Red Rabbit has to wait, I guess, until the end of the month. But yeah, we will see. I am also in the process, and hopefully, maybe it'll work out. Maybe we'll have a guest for the monthly live stream on the end of March, which will be, I guess, the 29th, I think, is the. Yeah, makes sense, right? Next week's the 22nd, a second, then it's 29th. Yes, I read it earlier this year, and I wanted to make a video about it, and then I got sidetracked. So I figured I'll reread it today so I can finally make that video. Because it is like a very short book, so I can read it in like one day and get through it. But the thing with like rereads is like when I can't decide what to read, like doing a reread of something that I know I will like is maybe sort of like giving me enough of a kick to do the next thing. But yeah, so if all goes well, I'm gonna check messages during the first sprint. We may have a guest for the next monthly live stream, which I'm very, very happy about, because I felt bad for not having guests the last couple of times, because I feel like, not that I don't like hanging out with you and or anything, but especially with like doing all these extra streams over the last couple of last 2 months or whatever, doing the thing that I always said I wanted to do, which is like find smaller channels and have them over to uh, give them, present them to like a larger audience and so forth, fell a bit to the wayside. So having someone who wants to be on, but we just need to figure out dates and all of that, makes me very happy. And it's probably someone not that many of my subscribers watch on the regular. So the usual thing, trying to find people that are different from me. So that's roughly the plan. See, the sun is coming up already. I'm starting to get sort of blinded by the sunlight more than by the light lamp in front of me. So I guess I might switch off the lamp in front of me again and see if you can tell me if the light is much worse if I make the switch this one off, because obviously I can't check. I'm sure you know the name Kadia. I don't know if you've watched their channel before, but I don't want to announce anything before we have like confirmation and everything. But yeah, but I know that Kitty and I have spoken about that channel before on Jolene's Discord. So how did you like Ida's book? I mean, yesterday you said, or 2 days ago you said that it was that you enjoyed it. Yeah, I need to figure out what to read like when I'm traveling to my mother and back over the weekend, because obviously riding train rides are perfect to listen to audiobooks, but not to not to every book I've found. It has to be something that kind of works for me. But yeah, so that's the plan for now. Well, that's good to know, Kadia, that it is still great. All right. Shall we do the thing where we pretend to be productive, either at work or at reading or at writing or at all these things that we always pretend to do while we are in fact mostly just being human. So let's do that, and that means let me calculate this. I'll be back at 20 past. How does that sound? I think that's time magic for you. I am able to find out what 45 minutes means. So let's do that, and I'll talk to you around 20 past the next hour. And I am back. Well, see you later, Kadia, I assume. And yeah, I did some things. I did go through emails. I did go through comments. I did go through messages, and I did something else, and now I'm forgetting what I did. you know. Oh yeah, and of course I made more tea, but it is what it is. So there's that. I have not yet checked the news because that's usually a very depressing thing that I try to avoid. I mean, I try not to. I mean, obviously I read the news, but I only read them in the morning when I want to get angry because I feel like too tired, which usually works. um, how did you guys do? Yeah, there's like a couple of messages I still need to write. That's what I'm going to do in the next sprint, and then if I'm smart, which we all know I'm not, I will make some notes so the whole video for what's the face, the whole Wizard of the Pigeons will be easier to do later on. Which wouldn't that be clever and all? So yeah, that's roughly the plan. I guess I'll also double check the bus strikes because if there's another bus driver strike tomorrow, then I probably better go to call my mother and try to do the visit today because I don't want to walk to the to the train station from where I live. Yeah, because it's quite the walk, to put it mildly, and I try to avoid that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the plan, to double check that because everyone striking these days, which is a good thing. Just to be clear, it is a good thing. I just don't necessarily need to plan my trips just so I can suffer more from it than I have to. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. There's always a chance of being surprised by it. But if possible, you know. So yeah, that's like one of the things where I'm like wondering. Is like, I mean, I'll record the video for Wizard of the Pigeons today, and hopefully by like Monday, the whole face will be less swollen, and then I can do the whole thing in one fell swoop. That is at least very nice indeed, Apollo. Like seriously, having that opportunity. I mean, you can get a lot of reading done that way, which is good. Did you start with Once Was Willem, or have you picked something else for the moment? What are you reading, if I may ask? It might just be that exactly. It's me going to Athens and bringing back the the spirit of class struggle. Now, wouldn't that be cool? Um, but yeah, just that like in general, like when I was living in different parts of the city, I didn't mind the strikes or whatever. But living up here on the lonely mountain, walking into and especially out of the city is a bit of a pain. guess it would take me like something like an hour plus to go to the train station from here, and not unless I really, really have to. Um, so yeah, once again, like it's just like one of those things where I feel like that I'm just like very self conscious about recording that Mormonism video when I'm really, 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 self conscious about the whole the way things look and so forth. Which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I think partly it comes from the lack of control, or like the lack of actually seeing how I look, where I have to rely on other people, and then you're like, can I trust them? Are they just saying it's fine because they like me, or are they saying it's fine because it is fine? And what does fine actually mean? Oh yeah, how are you liking Reynolds Revelation Space so far? Weird space archaeology, xenoarchaeology. I guess that's what it's called. Um, it's it has this weird gothic feel to it. I think it's almost like space gothic, which it's not, but it's also somewhat bleak. But it does have sort of like a Lovecraftian kind of element to it. Minus all the racism and all the misogyny and all the anti-Semitism, though. As far as I remember, right, it's been like ages and ages since I last read the Revelation Space, which is what it is. Um, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a larger universe. You have Revelation Space, Redemption Arc, Absolution Gap. Then you have Inhibitor Phase, which takes place later and does still have like some of the same characters as you have in that first trilogy. And then you have what they called Chasm City, which is takes place somewhere. Let me think. Time wise, I think it takes place before Revelation Space or parallel to it. And then you have the Prefect Dreyfus trilogy, uh, the Prefect, Elysium Fire, and Machine Vendetta, and those take place a good deal the um, uh, before the events of Chasm City. And Chasm City itself is a standalone, and the Dreyfus one is a trilogy, and Revelation Space is a first trilogy. And I assume Inhibitor Phase is the beginning of another series of books. But you never know with Reynolds what he's doing next and where he's going and all of that. But yeah. So yeah, I hope you enjoy those. I think no, Chasm City was the first one I read, and then I went and read all of the other stuff. But yeah, so yeah, Wizards of the Pigeon now. Maybe I'll actually get through Summer of Fire and Blood during the weekend, like on the train to Mannheim and back. Or if I'm really smart, I'll go back into Mormon mode and reread some of the Mormon stuff that I should probably reread to be back up to speed, because my brain is so bad at this, where I'm like, if I don't read something right now and then talk about it immediately afterwards, I can see how like my memory, my thoughts are sort of like degenerating. I can basically sit back and watch my ability to talk about it get worse by the hour. It's really bad. Yeah, I think it, he's all over the place. wise, I think. And Revelation Space is certainly at the beginning very verbose, I think is the right word here. Um, but yeah, I think verbose is the best way of describing it. So I hope you will get more familiar, or like that with like reading more of it, it will get more more easier, more comfortable or whatever, more familiar, I guess. Uh, so yeah, that's how. Yeah, I can imagine, especially like the first book has like a lot of like scientific vocabulary where you have to sort of like if you're not already a nerd in not already like either an archaeology or an astrophysics nerd, it'll get like, what's that word mean? I guess I have to look up. I guess I have to look up scientific concepts and terminology now. No, it doesn't. Because like Chasm City is so limited, sort of. I think that it's kind of hard to care for the world where other books go like, look, there's this entire fucking universe out there. Whereas with Chasm City, it's all just like, yeah, and you're down here in the muck and slime, and it's all grim and dark and brutal. And also, there's pigs in this one, and the pigs are cool. The hyper pigs are, I think, one of the more interesting concepts in the Revelation Space universe. Although I don't think they're in the first book. I think they might show up in Redemption Arc, but I'm not quite sure. I mean, it's been a long time, and I think the Hyperpigs only show up in Redemption Arc. All right, let's do the second sprint. It's once again 5 past half, 35, so 20 past, and then I'll slowly make my way to the gym about half an hour later, I guess. Not a half an hour later, like 10 minutes after that. Half an hour later than usual is what I was trying to say. Let's do that, and good luck on your drive to work, and hopefully fun with the audiobook, Apollo. All right, here we are. Well, goodbye, Apollo, and thanks. And I will do that. I'm pretty sure that that damnable cat will, at least at some point, attack me. Yeah, I did all the things I wanted to do. I did, in fact, even already, search for like train connections and everything. So I guess I'm ready to go down into the city and hurt myself at the gym, which is the done thing, I guess. So yeah, thanks for hanging out one final time this week. Unless something unforeseen happens and I spontaneously decide to do a live stream or whatever, but who knows about those things? Not I. I guess I'll see you. You can hopefully see me in a video for Wizard of the Pigeons, and otherwise I'll be back on Monday for breakfast, I guess. So yeah, have a great Friday, and after that, a wonderful weekend, hopefully.